Wants to share? Do you want to share? Whatever comes in your mind.
Family matters.
She says family matters. And that's very true. Family does matter. So today the topic is going to touch on conflict at home. And in that, I want us to do an activity. I want us to, it's very cold, right? So can be standing on your feet.
Well, will you argue with the person?
Because you're maybe too much like mad about that something, and the only way you can remove it maybe is by shouting. So that's because maybe you're trying to say something and the person seems like it's not understanding, so like you have to like, speak out, but you end up moving it a little bit too high. Yeah.
So it's just a reaction that happens. Do you want to answer?
You should not shout when you don't have an offering. Yeah. You should not shout before you don't have an offering.
Okay. Yeah, so, okay, does anyone want to answer on this side? I think it's pretty self-explanatory why you shouldn't shout, or do you want to answer?
Because, like, it's okay. When you shout, that doesn't mean that the person will hear you. It's if like the person doesn't want to hear you, they won't hear you whether you shout or whether you whisper. Or, yeah, it's.
Yeah, that's true, that's true. I understand both your points. So the next one is, some conflicts at home are never really about the actual issue. Like, conflicts that happen at home aren't really about like the issue that just happened. Okay. Now, let me move to the backbenchers so that you answer me. Because I'm running away. So, do you want to answer? No.
Some conflicts, they're not really about the actual issue because parents can make up conflicts just to get you jump starting.
Does anyone agree? I mean, disagree? Or who else wants to answer? You can give an answer.
What's the question?
The question is, conflicts at home aren't really about the issue like that just happened.
Yeah, I believe that's true because sometimes you feel like your parents argue because if it's something related to like who you are, instead of the situation, for example, they'll call you lazy or they'll find something to push on you and find something to justify their arguments, and it's not really about like the problem that's going on in the house. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Is there anyone on the disagree part? You disagree? You disagree? Oh, you? Okay. Or you already answered. Let me. You disagree? It's only you.
Oh wait, no, I actually disagree. As in, I think most conflicts should be about like the thing. Okay, well, I don't think it makes sense why like the conflict would be about something that is not related to what's happening, or like it. I feel like it should, and that's unless like the person keeps it to themselves, or like they get hurt by something you did in the past. I think most times it should be.
Yeah, so basically you're saying it can bring up things, but it's not the main meaning. Okay. And then sometimes you're angry, but you don't even know why. Agree, disagree. Sometimes you're angry, but you don't even know why. Who's disagreeing? No one is moving this way. Okay, I'm seeing a bit of movement. Okay. Do you want to answer?
Sometimes I look back at what others have done and then also why I'm angry, so it adds up.
Yeah. Me, sometimes I don't know why I'm angry. Like, I'm just angry. I don't know the reason why. But, yeah. But sometimes I know. Like, if I sit down and think, I'll understand, oh, it's this one and that one are the one that made me this mad. So 2 or more, and parents should apologize to their kids when they're wrong. Do you agree or disagree? If only our parents are here. So we all agree, right? Parents should apologize. Because they do some things that are wrong and they don't want to admit it. But it's okay. If we talk back, it's going to be an issue, right? So it's okay. And then the last one is, anger itself is not sin, it's what you do with it. It's what you do with the anger that's sin, but anger isn't sin. Agree or disagree? Okay, you agree. Let me... Do you want to answer? Anger itself isn't sin, but what you do with it is.
I disagree. Yeah, because anger is an emotion that's a reaction to an action. So if you're angry about something, it means that you have negative feelings towards it. So, sin.
Okay. That makes sense. Okay.
I feel like you're entitled to your emotions, but like not your actions. Yes.
I agree. Anyone else? Anyone else? You guys look like you have an opinion. No? Okay. Yeah, to me, anger is an emotion. It doesn't necessarily, like, it doesn't mean that if you're angry, you're sinful. Because when you're angry, some people just lock themselves in the room and, pray about it and just isolate. So that doesn't really lead to any type of sin. But let's say if you punch someone when you're angry, that's where the sin comes in. So thank you guys for participating. You can sit down. If you answered and you didn't get a sweet, you can come grab yours. Yeah. So, as you guys take your seats, there's an excitement announcement. Camp is coming very, very soon, from the 10th to the 15th of August. Guys, let's clap, let's shout. It's exciting, yeah, camp. Camp is very, very fun, especially in Nairobi Chapel. Camps, they are very, very fun. I know you guys want, to experience it. It's good to come to the community and have some fun. So it's happening at Mount Kenya Academy. You can find more information at the desk behind there and register there. So today is a special Sunday. Today is Father's Day. So let's clap for our fathers. Our ultimate father is our God, and anyone that's in your life that takes up that responsibility, anyone that you feel like is, always there for you, always caring for you, when your friends, anyone can be a father figure to you, and God is the best father figure to all of us. So we should appreciate those in our life for, providing for us, whoever who's acting like a father in your life, that person you should appreciate. And then next Sunday is Theme Sunday. You know how fun Theme Sundays are? So we are dressing up as our parents. So you see the way your dad dresses, you see the way your mom dresses. Come like that next Sunday. Don't forget, even if you steal their clothes, just steal their clothes. No, actually, we don't advocate for stealing. Ask for permission and let them allow you to borrow their clothes, okay? And then the final announcement, our very own Howie is hosting a worship experience. Howie is the lead singer here. She's always singing every Sunday. She always brings the vibe. So imagine how a worship Sunday would be like. So it's called Taste and See Worship Experience. It's happening on the 5th of July from 3 to 5. Make sure you tell your parents. Make sure you come with a friend. Everyone is invited. It's going to be a fun, fun, fun day. So now I am going to welcome the pastor of the day so that they can. Pastor Jam is coming to, teach you guys today. We all love to see Pastor Jam, yeah? So let's welcome her. Clap for her, she comes.
Thank you, Grace. Let's appreciate Grace for always doing a good job. Thank you, Grace. I am not the pastor of the day, so I will be introducing her. But just wanted to do a recap of what we've been doing the last 2 weeks. So we started this series called Family Matters. For the guys who are joining us from boarding, we're happy to have you. You've lost weight, but hopefully this 1 week you're home, you can add back that weight that you lost while you're in school. So the series is about helping us figure out family. So the first Sunday we started by talking about what God's design for family is and what God's thought about family is. And we said this is the standard, that family is a functional space where you guys are being nurtured, loved, cared for, so that you leave your father's and mother's house to go out into the world to solve the issues of the world. That's what family is supposed to be. But we also talked about that that's not always the case. Sometimes the issues are the family. And so God is able to heal, God is able to restore. And we talked about what you can do to start that journey. And then last week, Kendra was here. And Kendra did an amazing job. Thank you, Kendra. And she was talking about honoring parents. And it was one of those topics that we don't like being told. Because what if your parent is wrong? What if your parent is hurting you? What if your parent is all these things? And she walked us through some of the things that she does to help her remain true, but also some of the things you can do so that you're not the one dishonoring. You fix the issue without actually dishonoring your parent. So today we are having a counseling psychologist. She's been here before, you guys probably have seen her. And she's here to help us talk about how to sort conflict at home. So Grace mentioned that earlier. That's what we want to do. We don't want you to be shouting. You guys were actually lying. When Grace asked, shouting helps you be heard, deep down we all believe it because we all shout. At least most of us. I don't know about you. Maybe you guys don't shout. Me, I shout when I get overly exhausted and I feel like somebody's not understanding me. But shouting doesn't help the situation. In fact, it just fuels the fire. So how do we deal with conflict? How do we manage it? Because the reality of it is that our homes are messy. We piss off each other all the time. If I ask your parents, they have a whole list of the things that you've done to them. If I ask you, you guys are constantly reporting your parents to me. So how do we deal with this? Because, we still need to live in the same house together. So allow me to invite, I call her Pastor Shalom. Me, I am still stuck at, she's our pastor. She just refuses to be a pastor in this season of her life. But yes, help me welcome Shalom, and yes, give her a hand as she comes. And yeah, let me pray for you, and then I will hand over. So let's pray. Lord, thank you for gathering us here today on this very cold morning. We're grateful for your presence. We're grateful for your grace that you have allowed us to be here. I pray that you'd help us to be attentive to whatever it is you have for us today, and that as we leave this space, our families will not be the same, that the information we get will ultimately transform how we deal with our parents, how we deal with our siblings, and that our homes would be a better place just because we chose to come to church today. So be with our speaker today as she teaches us. I pray that our hearts would be receptive. I pray that you would speak through her, that she would speak with love and conviction, even as she tells us the truth that we don't always want to hear. We pray all these things, believing and trusting in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Jem. Good morning, guys. How are you all? We're talking about dealing with conflict at home. So I had some slides to basically help us just have the conversations. But this shouting thing that people are talking about, have you ever noticed that the person who tells you shouldn't shout is the one who shouts? The person saying you shouldn't be shouting is usually the one who shouts. And then shouting, unfortunately, is a mother thing. Like moms don't know how to talk. They don't know how to use an inside voice, right? So we'll see how to deal with conflict. Are the slides okay, or do I just continue? They're okay? All right, good. I want us to first start by having a conversation with each other. There's something that we need to be talking about that we don't get opportunities to talk about a lot. So our homes basically are not okay. And even if your home is okay, there's stuff going on. There's basically something that you think you should be talking about in your home that is not being talked about. So can you talk to each other? I'm not going to ask anybody to say. I want you guys to talk to each other and say, basically, what is it that's happening in your home that should be talked about that we are not talking about? Whether your home is okay or not, what's in that home that should be talked about and nobody's talking? You know how you meet your friends in school and you tell them you won't believe what my dad did. You won't believe what my mom said. whatever that thing is, whether it is said or unsaid, hidden or not hidden, it's part of what causes the stress that then leads to the conflict. So if we look at some sources of stress, when we look at some sources of stress, a big one is family. There was a question about something happening in the house, anger or something that's conflict that does not begin with the issue itself. We're going to look at some of the issues that bring it up. So a good source of stress is family, and this includes parents. Here's the truth about life. Even without a show of hands, there is conflict between us and our parents. They drive us up the wall, one way or another. Mine have driven me up the wall all my life. And so then there's siblings. We have sibling adversity that's happening, and sibling rivalry. Your siblings doing stuff that you wish they couldn't, or being favored, or you're the favored one, because sometimes you're the favored one. But then the big thing that's going on in our homes that we are not talking about are something that psychologists have called adverse childhood experiences, and this is abuse, neglect, and other challenges. So there are homes with physical abuse where discipline is not just discipline, it is seriously physical abuse. As a therapist, I get to see some of that in terms of the injuries that people are getting from their parents. There's emotional abuse. Parents who say and do things that that leave you feeling hurt, insulted, with your emotions all over the place. We have sexual abuse going on in families. Whether we admit it or not, it's one of the things that carries shame, and so it's hidden, but there's sexual abuse that's going on in our families. Sexual abuse through actual physical acts, sexual abuse through exposure. Some of us got exposed to pornography through our parents' gadgets, computers and all. That is a form of sexual abuse. Then there is neglect. And neglect is in physical and emotional. We have physical needs as the children of the home. We have emotional needs as the children of the home. And there's parents who are neglecting that. There's a lot of neglect going on. Then, of course, the others are domestic violence, substance use and abuse. And now we are having addictions. We have family members addicted. And today we have addictions that are cutting across. Previously addictions used to be for grown-ups, and then the children caught up. Now young people and adults are addicted to same things, right? We are getting addicted to tech, we are getting addicted to vaping, the same thing grown-ups are having. Then of course another thing that's happening is separation and divorce. There's a lot of conflict at home that's leading to separation and divorce. And then one of the things that was listed is family members who are in jail. I don't know how many of us have family members who are in jail, but you may have family members who are struggling with some criminal thing, right? They're trying to hack a system somewhere, they're doing something criminal. And those things come and cause problems later. Then, of course, another source of stress is friends. I don't know how your friends are. I don't know how real you are with your friends. I don't know how fake you have to be to maintain your friendship. But friendship is one of the biggest causes of stress for us. And when we are saying, does conflict come from other issues, sometimes you'll have hell with your friends in school or somewhere. Then you come home and your mom or dad is coming at you at something and they don't understand what your day has been like. And therefore your reaction is influenced by that relationship that you have with friends. Friends are rejecting us. Friends are comparing us with themselves, or we are comparing ourselves with our friends. And then, of course, when families move or schools change, we are losing friends. That will cause conflict. And I'm bringing these things in so that you look inside of yourself and see what are some of the things that's happening in my life that are making me hate home even more. Then there's future. When you look at your family, this is a statement I've had pretty often, and you're looking at what's going on in your home, do you yourself want to have children? Many times I hear people saying, I'd rather have a dog or a cat than a child, just because of what you're seeing going on at home. So careers, these are affected by everything that's going on, including your parents' choices. And then, of course, you're fighting for freedom over and over. So then if we look at what happens, those are the sources of the stress. But then what happens? How does this end up bringing conflict? So if you're looking at what does conflict actually look like? There's an emotional bit of conflict, right? And this is the stuff that's going on inside of you. Conflict is not just something that happens on the outside. Conflict also happens on the inside. You're confused. You're wondering what to do about your situation. You're wondering whether to ask for help and who to ask for help from. You're wondering whether anybody is going to understand. You're wondering whether to act on it. Act on the thing that you're feeling inside of you. There's mistrust. You don't trust people, you don't trust your family, you don't trust your friends, and in some cases, you don't even trust yourself. And some of the ways that we end up acting out with the inside, the internal conflict, that's where self-harm and suicidal ideation is coming from. Because there's turmoil inside of you, and you're wondering, how do I handle this? How do I stop feeling what I'm feeling? How do I take away the pain? That is a lot of internal conflict, right? Then there is physical conflict. Physical conflict is the real deal. Fights, the beatings, the whatever else that's going on. And this can be anybody fighting anybody else. So when you fight with your sibling, that is a physical conflict. When you physically fight with your parent, that's a physical conflict. Those are some of the things that are going on at home. Then there's a social conflict. And this is where it's also external. We are picking sides, where it's everybody is against you. There are some families I know where, if you know about personalities, sanguines, introverts, those people who are extroverted and others are introverted. A family that is full of introverts does not understand that that one member needs to be out having fun, right? Everybody thinks you should stay in the house, but you feel you should be out. And the opposite is also true. And people end up picking sides. You want to be home, and your family just believes that they need to invite everybody home, and you just want time out for yourself. Those are things that are relational. There's that social conflict that will happen. So now what do we do? Knowing what we know, knowing that these are the different conflicts that we have, what are some of the things that you can do? I'll borrow first from the Bible, and then I'll share other practical skills that you can get. The first one is to develop the skill that you need. When you look at yourself, what do you need to actually handle the conflict that's going on at home? What are some of the things that you need? In Proverbs 24, 3-4, it says, by wisdom a house is built, and through understanding it is established. Through knowledge, its rooms are filled with rare and beautiful treasures. So, when you look at yourself, is it wisdom that you're lacking? And if you lack wisdom, how can you get it? Who are you going to get it from? How do you gather that wisdom, right? Through understanding, you will establish the roots. So, when we're talking about conflict not coming from that particular issue, there's something that's been happening online where we are trying to say these things are generational. So you're told, understand where your parent is coming from, right? What does understanding where your parent is coming from mean? And does understanding equal to excuse their bad behavior? It doesn't, right? Understanding does not mean that you excuse the bad behavior. Understanding just helps you see the root of the problem. If there is domestic violence in your home, if your mother is trying hard to hide the fact that she's having issues with your dad, understanding it may help you then get to a place of wondering, how am I going to handle this myself? How do I stay away from the line of fire? Because the fire is not about me, right? That's what understanding helps us do. Through knowledge, its rooms are filled with rare and beautiful treasures. When you start having such conversations in church, and I hope start having these conversations with each other, you're going to end up filling your space, your mind, your heart, with the things that you need to fill it with the things that you need to actually grow from. So by wisdom, ask God for this wisdom, right? Ask God for this wisdom. So as much as there's chaos around you, you're getting some wisdom from somewhere that will help. And then there's how we talk. We are told in Ephesians 4:29, do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouths, but only what is helpful for building others up according to their needs, that it may benefit those who listen. Why is this important? It's not just because of the shouting. If you're going to bitch about your parents all the time, who's going to look at it in a way that helps you? Right? So sometimes you need to actually watch how it is that you're saying the thing that you need to say. Now, if your parent has actually done something wrong, state it as a fact. But when you whine about it all the time, then who is it benefiting? It doesn't benefit you. You're actually like, you know how cows chew cud? You're basically chewing on the bitterness. You're chewing on the bad stuff that goes on over and over and over again. So then, pick what it is that you need to complain about. Pick who you need to complain it to, and do it for the benefit of everybody else. Now, one of the things I've had when I say, is there somebody that you can talk to? Is there somebody that you can go complain about your parent to? Many people say, you don't know my mom, you don't know my dad, you don't know, we have nobody. This is the family setup we have. Guys, I want to tell you that God is powerful than all those people. Right? Like you can actually take your beef with your parents to God, and he will sort it out. I know sometimes it feels like he's not hearing, he's not seeing, right? But there's a peace that you get from actually taking that stuff. Like, getting to a place where you're saying, if I speak to my parent right now, I'm going to say something that may not be wholesome. And then you see the parent doesn't understand. They will push, and ask, why aren't you talking? Why aren't you talking? If you're taking that to God, you're able to hold your tongue and then seek wisdom, as we are saying in Proverbs, seek that wisdom to then figure out, how am I going to tell this man? How am I going to tell this woman what needs to be said without being disrespectful, right? You need to look for that. But then all of this is founded on where we lay our trust. When our parents have let us down, when our family members have let us down, and what we want to do is just fight it out, who can you trust? I want to put it here that the person that you can trust is God. This is Jesus talking. And Jesus was saying, this was before he was crucified and all. He says, do not let your hearts be troubled. Trust in God. Trust also in me. Just trust in God. Trust also in me. Just after that, in verse 2, he goes on to say, my Father's house has plenty of room. If that were not so, would I have told you I'm going there to prepare a place for you? Still the same house analogy, still the same home analogy. Because home is really supposed to be a safe place, whether it has become safe or not, whether it has stayed safe or not. It's supposed to be a safe place. And when it is not safe, number one, trust God. Take it to God. However crazy or hard or impossible or unreal that may look like, take it to God. Like, report your parents to God. God has no grandchildren, you know that, right? We are all children of God. So when it comes to the relationship with God, you and your parents are peers, your siblings. When it comes to we are children of God. So take it to your father. Take it to your father. Then what else can we do as far as conflict management is concerned? Now, this is something that you can now go and try. I'm saying first believe. First put your trust in God. First found it in God. Then here are some things that you can do. Just a few, I just picked like 4. There's different types of conflict management, but I picked 4. The first one is to collaborate. The stuff going on at home, there's different things going on at home. I don't know what you picked when you were talking about, our homes are not okay. What should we be talking about? But the problem is the enemy not you guys. When you're fighting over the phone, it's not the two of you, you and your parent, who are the enemies. It is what this phone is doing to your relationship that is the enemy. And when you approach it that way, you can get to a place where you negotiate even phone time. You get to a place where you negotiate access to your own phone. For those of you who have your own phones. You do that when you start looking at the problem as the enemy. What is it exactly that your parent is complaining about? What is it that you yourself are complaining about? What's the issue that you would like addressed? When you look at that as the enemy, then you're able to say, can we then do something to make this work? The same with your siblings. The same with whoever it is that you're having conflict with. Understand the problem is the enemy, not the people. And when you get to that state of mind, you're able to get to basically think through a solution. And remember, you're not just thinking on your own. You're still asking God for wisdom. So with wisdom will come understanding and an ability to just find a solution to that problem. Then there is compromising. Agree to disagree. Imagine not everything has to be agreed on. Get the courage to understand that you don't have to agree with your parent. Disagreeing is not disobedience, right? You are grown to the point where you're entitled to your own thoughts and your own opinions. And if you don't start using your brain for yourself now, it's going to be hard to use it for yourself when you're older. You're going to get into workplaces and you can't think for yourself. So sometimes, when your parents are going at you for something, you can agree to disagree. You can agree to disagree. It's their opinion. It is your opinion. And it's everything, from clothing to your hair, to the number of piercings you have, to tattoos, to whatever. There are places where you will reach a point you say, let's agree to disagree. And that is in opinion, right? Now, should you have tattoos? Should you have piercings in every part of your body? When you agree to disagree and approach it from the problem is the enemy, you wait for the time that you yourself can make that decision for yourself. Because you're looking at it and thinking, okay, is this going to just bring fights in the house that are necessary, or can I do it at another time? So that you're looking at the problem as the problem, and then looking at your relationship as a relationship, then establishing your opinion. Now remember, whatever opinion you have ends up becoming godly and wise when you're seeking that wisdom from God. Whatever opinion you may have, whatever thought you may have, great, test it through the Word of God. And when you're agreeing to disagree, you're actually saying, you know what? And remember, you're saying it in a wholesome way. You're telling your parent in a wholesome way, this I beg to differ, right? And it's okay, we don't have to fight about it. Then there is accommodating. Anytime we are having these fights, by the way, people make mistakes. You do wrong things as young people, and your parents are also doing the wrong thing. If they were here, I would tell them the same thing. Admit when you've made a mistake. Admit when you have made a mistake. There is nothing as good as saying, I am sorry, to get guys on the path to reconciliation. I'm sure if your parents apologize for some of the things that they have done to you, you would be feeling a little bit better about them. Now, for those whose parents don't apologize, I'm not saying every parent doesn't apologize, right? So acknowledge your mistake, and then, even as you're acknowledging your mistake and there has been conflict, acknowledge the other person's effort. Because sometimes when we fight and things become ugly and we disconnect, right? it becomes hard to come back together. But when we accommodate the other person's effort, we can say they are trying. And I'm not saying trust them immediately. I'm saying just accommodate the effort. Appreciate that they're making an effort to reconcile with you. Appreciate that they're trying to do something, and help them get to the point where they're doing what you consider enough. Because speaking on behalf of parents, they haven't parented another child before, another you before. Yes, you may be the 10th born, but you are the unique person. They haven't parented you before. So tell them what you like. And then when they try, accommodate their effort. When you have made mistakes in your reaction, apologize for it. I would tell your parents to apologize for the mistakes that they have made. So that is something I can tell Pastor Jem to tell your parents to do. I don't interact with your parents, but she probably does. A thing to remember is, can parents learn how to also say sorry so that we can reduce the conflict that's going on at home? The last one that I would like to share is avoid. For real, there was a question about walking away from conflict. Sometimes it's very wise to walk away. I don't know whether you have felt anger that makes you feel like hitting or throwing something, and the person that you will throw it to is the one who pays your school fees, houses you, feeds you, and you want to hit them with something. When you feel, you need to be so self-aware that when you feel that anger boiling to that level, you walk away. Right? Like walk away. That Bible verse that says, in your anger do not sin, it doesn't say don't be angry. It's when you're really, really, really pissed off, walk away. Because you might say something that may damage the relationship very, very extensively. So it's okay to walk away. Now, walking away does not mean that you won't confront this thing. You're walking away from the situation. You're walking away from this immediate problem. Because not every battle has to be participated in. Right? It's okay to sometimes say, you know what, fine, and walk. Right? Because then you're looking and seeing, what's the war? What are we trying to fight here? Because eventually you are going to win a war when you approach it with wisdom, when you approach the conflict that you're having with wisdom. So there's something I'd like to ask us to do, even as you're going back home, back to school, back to wherever you're going. Back to the elephant in the room when I asked, is there something that we need to be talking about that we're not talking about? Knowing what you know now and hearing what you have heard for the last 20 or so minutes, here are 3 things that you can consider. Number 1 is where you're already doing okay. You know, you're actually looking at your relationship with your parent and you're actually doing okay. Continue doing that thing. Talk about it. Communicate it, right? It's okay to get to the point, and I'm praying that you can get the courage to get to the point where you're telling your parent, you know, when we talk about my schooling, we fight. But when we go shopping, we are good. Can we do more of shopping and talk less about school? Here, I got this. You know, are you able to separate the issues and say, here, we have some rapport. Let's do this thing that's working. Then distance may have grown. You may have had conflict, you're not handling it properly, and you're thinking, me and my parents, we're not as close as we used to be. There's a disconnect that has happened. Try and reconnect and start thinking, what are some of the things that we can do to reconnect? What are some things that you used to do that you used to enjoy with your parents, and how can you use them to actually reconnect where distance has grown? Then there's places where reconciliation is necessary. Right? I don't know your story. You know your story. But where you are actually full-on enemies with your parents, is there a way that you can seek reconciliation? And why are we seeking reconciliation? Because we are blessed and we grow better and we survive better when there is unity and some sort of harmony between us and our parents. Right? Some parents may feel like they were sent to you from hell. But is there anything that you can actually reconcile with them? I know many of them may have done something that you're thinking is irreconcilable. But when you start looking at the problem as the enemy, are you able to get to a point you're saying, you know what? Here is how we are going to reconcile. You're saying, you know what? We don't have to agree on everything, but this is where we can see eye to eye enough to actually get through this relationship. Where you actually say, you know, I can withstand this for the next 2 years. Because when I turn 18, I will be able to make these choices in this particular way. Are you able to get to a place where you're saying, we can reconcile? Just to get back together as who we used to be. Maybe when I was 5, when I was 8, or whatever it might be. All right? So I'd like to close with a verse that says, it's Psalm 127, verse 1. That says, unless the Lord builds the house, the builders labor in vain. Unless the Lord watches over the city, the guards stand watch in vain. I want you to get to the point that you understand that you won't be able to do this alone. You won't be able to do this alone. Your parents are sinners, right? Well, so are you. We all are. And we need divine help to actually work out the conflict. There's one time I had conflict with my mom. Or rather, I think I grew up having conflict with my mom. You know when I was telling you about the anger that makes you feel like throwing something? When I was 5, I hit her with something. And, I mean, of course she was tall and I was short. So what I got were the legs. And she had a scar on her leg from a 5-year-old for the rest of her life. We continued having conflict over very, very many things. And then we got to the place where it was driving me up the wall, and I decided one of the things I'm going to do is take a fast from her. Now, I was lucky because I wasn't living with her at that time. But I actually took a fast, and I told her, for the sake of our relationship, I need not to talk to you for a month. I need not to see you for a month. I need not to hear from you for a month. But I couldn't do that when I was a 16-year-old in her house. I wish I had known some of these ways of handling conflict. I would have probably appeased some of those things and waited. But the fights that we had were crazy. Up until I was adult enough, well, way into adulthood, and learned that, hey, there are fights that you don't have to have. There are others that, you can fight to the end. And there are others you're going to say, this is my opinion, and this one is yours. Right? So I'm hoping that you have picked something that can help. But these 3 things, acknowledging where you're okay and having a conversation about it and making it better, reconnecting where distance has grown. There's no fight, but there's no closeness. How do you reconnect? And then reconciling, because reconciliation is necessary. Dwell on those things. All right? God bless you. Wish you luck. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Pastor Shalom. I was actually writing notes. I need to use some of this. I think you guys assume that you stop fighting with parents when you don't live in their house. Yeah, that doesn't happen. These fights continue even when you're older. So some of these things you will use now, you will use later, you will use in your own house with your own children. Because the funny thing is that one day you'll be on the other side of this, and you get humbled very fast. There are things I apologize to my parents now because I'm like, wow, I was a very hard person to raise. I didn't know this. But it's because I have children who have my personality. So I'm like, wow, they have a lot of opinions. So I hope you've picked up something. We're going to have small groups for about 15 minutes. And I want us to talk about this last slide because I feel like this one is important. Every so often, you guys call me or your parents call me and you make it sound like everything is on fire, life is ending. And I'm not like, yeah, it's just that situation. Life is not ending. Nothing is on fire. You guys are fine. So I want you to sit in the small groups and I want you to think about the rapport part, the first one. What are some things that are okay? Because not everything is bad in your homes. There are some positive things. There are things about your parents you can appreciate. You're like, okay, my dad is really good at this. My mom is really good at this. My sibling who drives me up the wall, they have positive things about them. So I want you to think about what those things that are working are. And then I want you to talk about the things that you need to reconnect on. I'm actually writing my list right now. I need to make a phone call to my mother after this for the reconnecting. We used to be close, but the last few years have been something else. I'm going to go with the agree to disagree. We're going to agree to disagree on some of the things I've been saying. You have to think the way I'm thinking because you're wrong, and yeah. So I'm gonna be writing my notes as well. And then the reconcile element. What are some things that you need to reconcile on? And sometimes, like Kendra taught us last week, you need to call a third party to help you with the reconciliation because things have been said and things that have been done, you can't quite undo. But if a third person comes in, then they help you walk back to each other. Because guys, there'll never be a time where you don't need your parents. And just take this from me. The older you become, life happens, you realize, oh wow, they were doing 1, 2, 3 wrong, but there's also a lot of things that they knew that I don't know that I need help with. And so let's start working on these relationships now when we still have a chance to. So you can stand on your feet, get into the small groups, 15 minutes. The service is still ongoing on the other side. So yeah, let's do that. 14-year-olds on this side, 15 next to the container, 18 next to the entrance, 17 next to the info desk, and 16 right here. So 15 minutes, have the conversation, and then you're free to go. Have a good week, guys.